All right. How's everybody doing tonight? First of all, can you hear me? That's the first thing we need to figure out. All right. Apparently you can. That's good. Well, um, tonight's tonight's theme is Anthony Gatto, and so we're going to get started. Uh, we've got 13 people watching. Apparently, maybe we'll wait another minute or two. We got 16. Great. Before we do get started with the general discussion, I'll let you know that if you want to ask questions, that's supposed to be the for Patreon supporters of the IJA only. So I know some of you may be watching and you may have questions, but the Patreon supporters are the ones who get to ask the questions live during the live stream. So if you want to become a Patreon supporter, you can join the Five Club for $5 a month. You can support the IJA, and one of the perks is that you get to ask questions during these monthly live streams. So Anthony Gatto, I'm pretty sure almost everyone, if not everyone watching, is quite familiar with Anthony, one of the greatest jugglers of all time, especially with toss juggling of balls, rings, and clubs. He is considered by many to be the greatest of all time. He was born in 1973 in Manhattan, New York. He was raised in Ellicott City, Maryland, near Baltimore. And he learned to juggle just before he turned 4 years old. His stepfather, Nick Gatto, had been an acrobat and variety performer, and taught him at a very young age. And Anthony learned extremely quickly. He was certainly a child prodigy. And by the time he was 8 years old, he was a world-class juggler, at least technically. He won the IJA Juniors Championships in Cleveland in 1981 at the age of 8. He then won the IJA Individual Championships at the age of 13 in 1986. And he is the only juggler to win the Golden Clown at the Monte Carlo Circus Championships. He did that in the year 2000. Anthony retired in 2012 after spending, I think about 5 or 6 years with Cirque du Soleil and a couple of different shows. People often ask why he retired. It was mainly for health reasons, for shoulder and back issues. I then started a concrete resurfacing company and has been doing that ever since. He has a couple children, very happy, living his life out of the spotlight. But his juggling accomplishments still are incredible. And he still has the world record for duration for 7 to 11 rings, 6 to 8 clubs, and 8 and 9 balls. And I've got a lot of stuff of his here in the Museum of Juggling History. And so we're going to take a look at what those things are. We've got, well, we'll start with maybe the most prized things, and that is we have the 3 clubs that he learned to juggle clubs with. Nick, his stepfather Nick, made these. They are table legs with pinky balls, painted pinky balls attached to the top. And this is what he learned to juggle 3 clubs with. And really remarkable. Anthony gave these to me about a year ago. And we have the 3 rings that he learned to juggle with as well. And they're very, as you can see, they're very, very thin this way. And so those 2 things are really remarkable, that we have the clubs and the rings he learned to juggle with. I also have one of the clubs from his second set of clubs. Nick Gatto made these. It's a plastic toy bowling pin club. And for a long time, I thought this was his first club, but he eventually found out that he had this prior set. And so that's really, really cool. After using those 2 sets of clubs, Anthony moved to Dubé clubs and used those for a while. And then he moved on to Renegade clubs. And for the majority of his career, he used Renegade clubs. And I've got several different kinds here. First, I've got one of his numbers clubs. This is a Renegade 75 millimeter club. The numbers club was invented for Anthony, or at least by Renegade. Renegade made them for Anthony. Anthony, could juggle 5 clubs before he could hold 5 clubs. He would have to start with 1 on his forehead and 1, and then 2 in each hand. But when he started to do 6 and 7 and 8 clubs, they needed something thinner, and so this was invented. And so this is one of his numbers clubs. And then he used for quite a while, for at least 3, 4, and 5 clubs, he used a 95 millimeter club. I've got 2 of them here. One autographed by Anthony, this red one, and this blue one is one of the ones he used when he won the Golden Clown prize in the Monte Carlo Circus Championships. And so this is a really important club that he won that biggest prize, circus prize ever, using that. But after that, he moved down a size to the 85 millimeters. And so this is one of his 85 millimeter clubs. I actually have, I believe, 10 of these of Anthony's, 4 in this color, and I've got, let's see, 11. So I've got 4 in this color and 7 in another color. And if you visit the Museum of Juggling History, there are 3 of these that you can juggle, 3 of Anthony's clubs that you can juggle. And so that's really cool. We've got one of Anthony's torches, and this is also made by Renegade. And neat thing about this is a numbers torch. And so the only person that Renegade ever made numbers torches for is Anthony. And so it is thinner than a normal Renegade torch, made specifically for him to do 7 torches and even flash 8 torches, if my memory serves me right. But this is one of Anthony's torches. I have one of Anthony's. When everyone sees this ball, they say, "Oh, that's one of Anthony's head bounce balls." It's actually not. In the opening of one of the Cirque du Soleil shows that Anthony was in the opening number, where all the performers are out, Anthony juggled 5 of these balls. So it is, I guess, a rhythmic. It doesn't really feel like a rhythmic gymnastic ball, but it is not one of his head bounce balls. And then we have one of Anthony's iconic painted pinky balls, or super pinky balls, I think. So this is a foam ball. When you buy it, it's pink. It's a bouncy ball, and they would paint these white. Nick would paint them white to give them a little extra weight and a better visibility. And so that's what Anthony used most of his career, was these painted pinky balls. But towards the end of his career, he did move to a stage ball, which is what this is. I'm not sure what model this is, but it's slightly larger than a pinky ball and a little lighter, but it's pretty fuzzy, but it is autographed by Anthony. And we're going to try and have 3 or more of Anthony's clubs at the IJA Fest this year in Fort Wayne that you can juggle. We're going to have, might as well mention this now. We haven't made an official announcement about it, but we're going to have an event on Monday night, which we don't typically have an event Monday night at the IJA Fest. We're going to have an event called Challenge Night, where we're going to have some really special things that everyone is going to get a chance to try to juggle. I don't want to say too much, but things like some Anthony Gatto clubs or some Harry Lynn clubs, but also some really crazy props. You may be familiar with the Chaos clubs that I invented a number of years ago. We're going to have those. We're going to have some other similar things like that. We're going to have some giant props for you to try and juggle, some miniature props, pardon me, some really weird things like that. So we might, I'm going to try and remember to bring some Anthony Gatto clubs for people to try. So those are the props of Anthony that I've got here. But Anthony has been very generous to the Museum of Juggling History and to me. And so I've got some other things of Anthony's here. I've got a bunch, actually all of his gold medals that he won, either in the numbers championships or stage championships. So I've just got one of them here, but I've got it in this, let's see, in that cabinet back there. I've got a bunch more of these. I have his trophy from when he won the individual championships of the IJA in San Jose in 1986. And so this is that. So that's really cool. I have got a plaque that he won in 1983 in Monte Carlo. And I have, hold on. I have his Award of Excellence that he won. And so I've got more or less all of his trophies and everything except for his golden clown. He told me he hasn't really kept any juggling stuff except a couple books, either about him or that he is in, and his golden clown. So I've got the majority of the rest of the stuff. So that's pretty cool. He trusted me enough to let me have this stuff. I will let you know that I did attempt greatly to get Anthony to agree to come to the IJA Festival this year in Fort Wayne, and I think I was pretty close to having him come just to do like a meet and greet type thing, but he in the end decided to pass. So that's what I have to show you. does anyone have any questions about Anthony or any other topics tonight? Let's take a look. I do not see any questions. No questions at this time. All right. If you have topics that you would like for me to discuss in future live streams, let me know. We've done things on great female jugglers of the past. We've done things on Rudy Horn and we've done some things, I think, Bobby May. We could do things on, gentlemen jugglers. We've done one on weapons. Question: do I think Anthony is the best technical juggler of all time? With balls, rings, and clubs, I do think he probably was the best. Certainly not the most creative, but just overall technical ability, especially under the pressure of performing, I think he probably was. He's just so well-rounded as a ball, ring, and club juggler, and to be able to do it at such a high level. And he was so groundbreaking. I mean, in 1986, when he demonstrated 7 club juggling for the first time, we'd had a list of people who supposedly had done 7 clubs and even performed it, but we'd never seen it. And so we don't know if, people like Soren Montinu or Jack Brimlov and people like that, how long they could do it or anything like that. But to actually finally get to see Anthony Gatto running 7 clubs, that was groundbreaking. And it opened floodgates for now, 7 clubs is such an everyday thing, if you will, that I think we have Anthony to thank for that. And just especially when you look at what he could do while bouncing a ball on his head or balancing a pole or balancing a club, it's just incredible. Like I said, he's been retired now for 6 years, and yet he still has all those records. Question: what was my favorite memory of Anthony? Well, probably just going out to lunch with him. When I was when he was 18 and I was probably 21, 22, at let's see, St. Louis or Baltimore, and just seeing that he was just a regular guy, and they had a life away from juggling. Obviously, me being me, I love juggling. I love to talk about juggling, but it's nice also when you can get to know people beyond juggling. But I guess as far as like a funny thing, I remember when he was young and I'd be watching him practice, and he'd be breaking a world record, and he'd be in the midst of it, and Nick would go, "Okay, honey, that's enough," and Anthony would just stop. He could have kept going and just slaughtered a world record, but Nick thought it was enough and said, "Okay, draw it in," and Anthony just would stop. And to me, that was hilarious. knowing that more or less he could break just about any world record he wanted to anytime he wanted to. So let's see. I think there were some other questions that I missed while I was answering that. Let me take a look. Hmm. Hmm. All right. Hmm. All right. Uh, did Anthony achieve as much as he could have? I think he achieved the things he wanted to. I think winning the Golden Clown was his big thing. Uh, Anthony never had the respect in Europe that he really wanted. Um, his performance style wasn't, I guess, exactly what European audiences were looking for, and so he never uh, had the offers of giant contracts in Europe that other people had. And so I think winning the Golden Clown was a big redemptive event for him. But uh, I think he probably accomplished the things he wanted to accomplish. Um, and I think more or less, he just cares about making a decent living for his family and being happy with that. And I think he is pretty happy with life right now. When I talk to him, that's the feeling I get from him. So, any other questions? Well, if there are no other questions, I thank you all for tuning in today. Um, any other questions about these props or anything like that? I'm not going to bring these for everyone to juggle, but I maybe can try and bring some of these. Um, and we are going to bring, as I said earlier, we're going to bring some really cool things. The IJA Fest is going to be a really good one. I really hope and think this year, since I'm in charge of it, we're going to have all the things that you're used to seeing, all the competitions, all the shows, the workshops. But we're going to bring back an old thing. We're going to have 3 brand new events that are going to be really, really cool. We've already announced the film festival. And so we're going to have a juggling film festival, which is really cool. And we are going to, as I said, have this challenge night on Monday night. Um, and we're going to have one more event that we have not announced yet. But I think I really hope you make plans to come to the IJA Fest. It's the last week of June, June 24th to the 30th. So it's earlier than normal. It's usually in July. It's the end of June this year. The facilities we have are incredible, best we've ever had. Everything is right in one location. You've got the convention center, the theater, and both hotels. They make a square, and so they're completely adjacent to one another. You can go from any one of the to the other in 30 seconds or less. It's just so convenient. It's amazing. Um, and so I really encourage you to do that. So also want to encourage you once again to sign up to become a Patreon supporter of the IJA for just $5 a month. You can join the 5 Club. You can ask questions through during these live streams, and you're doing great work to help support the IRC competitions and the youth programs and eJuggle online magazine and so many other wonderful things that the IJA does. I'm a life member of the IJA. I've been a member since I was 14 years old, and I'm an old guy now. So, and it's just an incredible organization. So I really encourage you to support it through membership and through Patreon. All right. Someone asked why they used pinky balls. I have no idea. I think Nick just decided, he found the ball. He said, I like it, but I'm going to paint it. And that's what Anthony used. So I have no idea why beyond that. I guess that is it. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. I hope you learned some things, and I hope you tune in again the next time we do. We do this about once a month, and so I hope that you will tune in for the next one. Thank you all. Bye-bye.